Happy
It's been
anniversary.
1 year.
Whoa, look at you. Hey.
Yay!
Happy anniversary to us.
Kinder, what's going on?
Wait, I can't see you. Let me put on my glasses.
Okay.
I can't see.
Oh, can you see me now?
I can see you
It's
now.
a celebration. You
Let me
gotta
take off these rose-colored glasses. It's our anniversary of this fabulous book. Yes, we are not going to be shameless. We are plugging her.
Yes.
She is our labor of love.
10,000 books this year. everyone.
10,000. Come
Yep.
on, people. Come on and join us for our 1 year anniversary. We are so happy that you are going to join us tonight. Looking forward to giving you an update on what's been happening in our world.
Yes.
So, what's been going on with you, Kelly, up in the Virginias?
Up in the Virginias.
Yes.
So what's been going on? Oh, just all kinds of things.
Thanks, Helen.
Yes, thank you. Just so excited. I mean, excited about the book. Yes, it was a labor of love and the whole night. But I'm so excited about the community that we're building, the women who have read it, that we get to honor tonight, get to talk about, and the impact that we both over 2 years ago dreamed we hoped we could make.
Yes.
And today we're making that dream come alive. So just so excited. How about you? What's happening in your world?
Everything is going okay. This has been a mixed emotional week, right?
Yeah.
Mixed emotions in that I'm so happy of the work that we've been doing and reflecting, and at the same time, I'm sad at the loss of my aunt, and I'm thinking about her and channeling. Ooh, can't even speak. Channeling her.
Yes.
Because I know she would say she was so proud of us and she wants us to keep moving. So I dedicate this anniversary to my aunt Sissy Isla Washington, who was a staunch supporter of education and definitely of the work that women do for equality and voices to be heard. So I'm going to amplify my voice even louder to make sure that her death is not in vain.
Absolutely. Here's to Isla. Here's to all the Islas, to the women whose stories are being told, the women whose stories need to be told, yes. The women who are still needing to become unwrapped, the women who will become unwrapped. Just so excited that that we're creating a space, a place for women to come and do that work.
Yeah, and I'm seeing all of these women and men who have been supporting us. Xavier, thank you. Rochelle, thank you. I saw Helen. I saw Matt. I think I saw Madison. I saw Valerie. So thank you. Come on, stick with us. Now we have a great treat because we're going to be sitting in the hot seat this time. For our book talks, we normally have someone that we are interviewing and getting their voices. But this time we wanted to bring our fabulous sister friend who was with us from the beginning.
Day one.
She from day one. And we're so happy. Now, if you all don't know this fabulousness that's about to show up on the screen, you will get to know her and then you will just absolutely fall in love, and hopefully you will also hire her because this is all about business. This is all about promoting sister love, empowerment. So we're gonna bring on the fabulous, the incredible, the incomparable Bertine West. Woo, woo, woo.
Not incomparable. I'm going to take that. Ladies, hello.
You were with us almost a year ago. Well, yes, almost a year ago you were with us.
I was. I'm so delighted to be here with you guys. Happy anniversary. You already know, I tell you all the time, I'm so proud of you guys. Not only am I a fan, I am a super fan. So I am so glad to be here. I'm honored to be here. And Kendra, my sincere condolences on your aunt. But may your Aunt Isla, rest in peace, love,
Yes.
and power. And I know her light is going to continue to shine on you all.
Yes.
Mission to educate, inspire, and empower women, but also men to be our co-conspirators.
That's right.
Yes.
Ready to get unwrapped?
Let's go. Let's get
Go.
on that.
Right.
Yes.
So first, I want to say a shout out to everybody that's joining us from all of the places, all of the socials. So Facebook, YouTube, X, LinkedIn Live. I'm so delighted that the audience is coming from all over. So let's jump into it. First, I want to say this is not only a journey for you all, but it is an experience that you have shared and honestly gifted us with in a way that brings transformational empowerment. And I'm telling you, every time I read the book, because when you read the book, you want to go through passages again, right? And every time you do that, it's like, I'm going to be cliche, but we're going to use the word unwrapping a lot tonight.
Yes.
So
Yes.
every time you read the book, there's another gem to unwrap. Even if you've read the passage before, you read it again with different eyes. And then
Yeah.
when you share the book, when you gift the book, that person that you gift and share it to and with, they're reading it with different eyes. So it's a constant evolution of self, evolution of community, evolution of women. And I'm so delighted that we get to just celebrate this moment. So I'm totally psyched.
Thank you.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Portia. Thank you.
And so now I'm going to tell for people who may be joining us for the first time, welcome. Welcome to the Unwrapped experience with Kendra and Kelly. So I'm going to tell you some brief background about them because I want to dive into our questions. So Dr. Kendra Washington Bass is an educational leadership developer, a leadership coach, a talent manager, an activist, a woman empowerer, an author, of course, a speaker, and a champion for children.
Yes.
Her goal in life is to empower. And as somebody that's known her for quite some time, Kendra, I'm going to share a personal story real quick about just our I don't even know what to call it.
Panera Bread meetings.
Power sessions. I saw Kendra at a leadership event because we both belong to a particular leadership group. And when I saw her across the room, I was so happy to see someone else that looked like me in the room. But also, I didn't know how deep that would get because not only did she look like me, she was from my home state of New York. She understood the food that I loved, understood riding the train, and understood the 3 shades of New York snow, which
That's right.
for another conversation. And so I am so grateful to you because your mentorship has allowed me to step into the CEO-ness of myself, which is the reason that I could be who and what I am and show up as my authentic self. Cornrows and all, y'all. Okay. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that. And now we're going to Kelly. So Kelly, everybody who's joining us for the first time, Kelly is also the co-founder and co-conspirator, because we're going to use that word a lot too, of Lucy Leadership Project. Kelly is an executive leadership and culture coach, a certified Dare to Lead facilitator, a leadership development creator and facilitator, a leadership development facilitator for women educators, a speaker, and of course, a renowned author. And so, Kelly, I'm going to throw a personal story out there. The moment I met Kelly, what is it that you said, Kendra? She was invited to the cookout. I was
the cookout.
Not only are you invited, I'm putting you in charge of potato salad. You have to watch it and make sure it stays.
That is bold. If you haven't her make potato salad,
I said it. Okay, I said
I promise no raisins. I promise no raisins.
She knew not to add raisins, y'all.
She knew.
Now
That's why she gets to bring
I've been doing the work. I've been doing the work.
Good. You need paprika though. Make sure there's some paprika in there.
Yes, paprika.
But see, this is where we get to be co-conspirators. Everybody will bring extra paprika. All right. That's how we're rolling today. And Kelly's energy was just so infectious. I love that you were so genuine. Your heart was just literally on your sleeve for all to see. And I just thought to myself, this woman is going to be my friend, period. And that was it. So that's my
Thank you, Bertine.
you guys. Of course. That's my connection to you guys. But they don't want to hear all about that for too long. So we're going to jump into these questions. Okay. So for everybody joining us, we're going to have these questions in about 4 segments. So the first segment is going to be thinking about the journey and the inspiration behind the Lucy Leadership Project and Unwrapped. The next segment is going to focus on impact and response. So what this book did for all who came in touch with it, all who got to be a part of it, see it, read it, touch it, talk about it. And then the third segment is going to focus on experiences and outreach. And you will see this book has spread far and wide.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth segment is going to be challenges, lessons, and future plans, because nothing great happens with ease, right? And so growth requires a lot of resilience. It requires, being knocked down more than anything else. And then it's the getting up, though, that
Mm-hmm.
makes us so proud. And it makes us know who we are. And it lets us set the course, not only for ourselves, but all those who will follow. Right. So we're going to talk about what challenges you all went through. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the book because we want you all to get the book. Once you get the book, I guarantee you will be changed. It really and truly, you will be changed. So now let's get into the questions. So, first question I have for you all, can you tell us a bit about yourselves and how the idea for Unwrapped, the pursuit of justice for women educators, and the Lucy Leadership Project came about?
Okay, so I'll jump in, but Kelly does a great synopsis. I'll start with saying that I believe that for us separately, we knew, I think we knew we were going to write a book. As I look back on the 2 years that we've spent in thought, in reflection, in storytelling, is it's almost like as young kids, the story was being written, just didn't know when it was going to actually be published in a way that showcases our journeys in the way that it does, right? We can always look at what the results are. We can look back and then go, that is why that happened that way during that time, that failure, that disappointment, that joy, that success, the ins and outs, the hills and valleys. So I would say that it was destined that a book was going to be written on this topic, and it was destined that Kelly and I were going to converge somewhere in our lives to do it. Just didn't, see it early on in life, or even as we met each other back in 2008, 2009. So I do think that I don't believe in coincidences,
No.
right? I don't believe that this happened by accident. This definitely was destiny, and we're we're trying to. I believe we're trying to continue to live into the destiny and to move our feet and our voices in a way that allows us to rely on faith to do so. And that's a hard piece because that's giving up control to do that.
Mhm.
But I think our faith, our love for each other, the passion we have for our values, specifically about building this sister community and moving the needle for women from being just keeping their heads above water in the workspace to thriving and making a difference for children is what's going to continue keep moving us forward. So I'll have Kelly share a little bit about the sort of the actual ask that came about.
So, like Kendra, when I was reflecting on how did we get to where we are today, I absolutely believe it was not by accident.
Mhm.
That somewhere at some point in time, maybe when we were little, and I was littler way before Kendra was, the stars and the moons aligned and said, when they get into their perfect orbit, this is what's going to happen. So, and to make that story, because many have heard it and it's in the book, but to kind of tell it a little differently, um, I had gone through my own kind of workplace trauma, if you will, about 2 years before Kendra did. And Kendra and I knew each other first as client and consultant, but we connected immediately, and we always stay connected.
Yeah.
And then and I had gone through that, left my employment at after I had kind of gone through that and was going through it. And then Kendra and I reconnected just as hers was starting.
Mm.
So I had gone through that for a couple of years and Kendra was starting. We started just having conversation, getting together on Zoom and having conversation. And then in 2020, the world experienced and went through and continues to go through a racial reckoning. Not only the pandemic, as we were all, away from our communities, but we also went through a racial reckoning. And I I don't think it was a coincidence that we happened to be in connection with each other, a white woman and a black woman, when that was happening. Um, and so as we were going through that and as we were sharing our stories and we were talking about what the world is like today and I'm learning and doing my own unpacking and my own um, uh, decolonization of the way I viewed the world and viewed myself in the world, this was not an accident. And
Hmm.
so we started with some casual conversation. And then you're right. I always wanted to write a book. I hadn't even started it, but I didn't have the passion behind it. I was like, I don't know. What should I? And then I just reached out and texted her one day and said, Hey, you want to write a book about women's leadership? And she came back with this profound statement and said,
Yes, it was very
Yeah,
profound.
yes.
That's all I said was
Just
yes.
said yes. And that set us on meeting every week. I always like to say we meet every week for an hour. We talk 55 minutes about everything but the book and 5 minutes about the book. And
Yes.
so that's why it took us 2 years. In the meantime, I got to know her family. I got invited to the cookout, didn't know what it was. I kept telling people, oh no, it's not a cookout, it's a Zoom call. So I mean, until I realized what that meant. But we just and through this work, we just created such a bond and a sisterhood with each other, but also we knew our stories and we were dedicated in that moment to telling the story. We knew there were other women out there experiencing what we were experiencing. We were not unique in this way. Um, and we needed to figure out how do we help get those stories told.
Yeah.
And then what do we do about them? And
Hmm.
so then we created Lucy Leadership to have a foundation for what happens beyond the book.
Yes.
Mm. I love that story. I will never get tired of hearing it because as you both are talking and speaking, I'm seeing the racial reckoning that our country went through, and I dare say our world, right?
Yes.
But I'm also seeing the effects of the pandemic and how we were more siloed than ever at the
Yeah.
time we shouldn't have been the most, right? When we needed each other the most, that's when we were furthest apart, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
So when we're talking about, the past year and reflecting on it, individually and collectively, how has the journey been for the both of you when we're thinking about where we were during the pandemic and where we are now? So from the time this powerful ask and this powerful yes came together, right? This convergence of not only the minds but the wills and the spirits, right? The
Hmm.
you both feel for this work and really the love that you both have for each other. I think that is something also that's present, like not only when we see you together but throughout the book. I feel like when we are speaking, whenever anybody that knows Kendra and Kelly see them speaking to each other, it's like double dutch, so you got to jump in real quick. Right? And I love that. I love that so much because I'm like, okay, here I
Yeah.
come,
Yeah.
right? And then you guys just you sweep us up in this. So for you both, right, individually and collectively, what has the past year's journey been for the both of you?
Ooh, I'm gonna jump into that one first. I liken it from the time that we started writing the book. Um, for me, it was like detox.
Mhm.
Um, I I use the idea of going through my own sort of identity rehab in this process. So
Mhm.
that's detox. So two things happened. First was in writing became therapy because I had to come to grips with who I was in that moment and who I wanted to be. And that was very painful because I had to dig real deep to decide, well, how have I been moving in the world? And what I found, what I'm still finding, is that I've been moving in the world to be accepted, particularly by white people, in order to prove my worth.
Mm.
And at the expense, in many cases, of my own soul.
Mm.
And that still is even hard to say. It's easier now for me to say that out loud and in this very public space. Um, but I can go back and see moments where I I chose the comfort. I chose what I thought. Now I understand why I did it. I mean, I think I'm being really harsh on myself, but now, because now I see it,
Yeah.
right? Now it's clear that I can now sort of push myself back out of it when I feel like I might be going back into that space. This is just, that's what is a detox. I find sometimes, in order to not feel that hurt or pain, that I just, let me just like acquiesce,
Mhm.
right? Or it's almost like, let me just take that other hit, and I have to pull myself out of it. So that's the first part of the journey that is continuing. That is really what the unwrapping is for me.
Mhm.
It is detoxifying the masks and the things I have been wearing and what I've been um, trying on in order to feel a sense of worth. And then I think the other thing that has been happening collectively with Kelly and I is that we are experiencing our own learning together. And that means having hard conversations that people don't want to have, about race, about gender, about identity, about our voices.
Mhm.
And it is nice. I don't know if that's the best way, to as the best way I could just say it, to have someone alongside you who is putting in work. And I don't feel like I have to put in work for me and for her.
Right.
Like, we're doing it side by side, and we're like, all right, so I read this article. What do you think about this? Or I did that. It's just, it's a great conversation that we have about how we're learning so that we can show up for each other. And I think part of what Lucy Leadership Project and this book has done, it is helping for us to model what this looks like.
Mhm.
Model what a friendship, sisterhood looks like when you can show up for each other in a way that's authentic. That doesn't mean it's easy. This is not about um this. And I know, so here's the other hits, the criticism of like, well, you're with a white woman, blah blah. Yeah, okay. But if we are thinking about what we want for this world and for the future of our children, you have to be, we're going to coexist. I don't want to coexist in isolation. I want to coexist where we honor, where I am honored for being who I am, and Kelly sees that. So this is what, these 2 years post COVID, and this book, and this sisterhood, and these stories that we are hearing, and the messages we're telling to our sisters and brothers out there, is doing for me. And I'm assuming that is having that same effect on Kelly as well.
Yeah, and actually I would mirror everything you said, but with a different nuance and experience and
Sure.
perspective from being a white woman. And that is, it's one thing to do, and Kendra knows this about me, and called me to task when we were writing the book around, I can be a just the facts ma'am kind of writer, because I came from almost 16 years of reading a lot of research. Most of the writing was like data, and so I can be around, okay, into I can stay in my head and be very intellectual. And during the process of the writing of the book, we were writing our life stories, and she'd say, I don't see you anywhere in here. You know, what did your house look like when you grew up? What were your parents like? What was, and I'm telling, you know, the facts. I'm telling the comfortable. I'm choosing comfort over courage.
Mhm.
And so in that process, her being my pseudo therapist and pulling that out of me and pulling that emotion out, helped me to realize, yeah, I stay in my head a lot because I don't want it. Because sometimes if I go to my heart, it hurts and it doesn't
Mhm.
feel comfortable. And I see the world as it is, and I see my friend being hurt, and I see things happening. And so part of what she does, this conspiracy does for us is she pulls me out of my head, and this process did that. Um, the other thing I would say that I've learned through this, or that we've experienced, is when we keynote together. You know, as the white woman on stage, I have some choices to make. I can make a really comfortable and give a very comfortable keynote. But when I look out in the audience, and the audience is a mix of all kind of beautiful women, I need to tell the truth.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's been accepted, and quite honestly, sometimes it has not. And we both know some situations where the audience may not have been quite ready for the message that we were sending, and that's okay, because
Yep.
not all women are ready for this message. But the ones that are, and the ones that are ready to do the work and to coexist with each other and to live side by side and to be a safe harbor, a safe place, is, I mean, when I started this, I thought, how much of womanhood am I missing out on because we can't sit side by side with each other and be authentic and honest. And I get it. It's not always a safe space
Right.
for Black, Brown, Indigenous women and women of color. It's not a safe. It's always a safe space. And one thing we always say when we're on stage is, we are not advocating. Go find yourself a white woman. Go find your Black women. Go find yourself a white woman. White woman. Go. It it takes work on both sides. It takes me hearing what Kendra has to say. It takes me constantly learning, her calling out things I don't notice, and me accepting, being able to accept that. But that takes my own internal work to be able to do that, over a long period of time. So that's really what this experience has done for me and for us. We will continue to tell that story that is uncomfortable for a lot of women. We'll be continue to do that, and for those that are ready, we're saying, come on and join the community and do it with us.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Ladies, that's there's so much in there to unpack, but the three words that I'm coming away with are touchstone, truth, and comfort.
Mm.
And so for me, what that means, listening to both of you, is that you both served as each other's touchstone.
For
Right?
sure.
Now you can't do that if you're comfortable, and you can't do it without telling the truth, right? And so what I love that you all consistently bring up, because for those who are not familiar with you, what and your work, what they will notice is that you are both consistent about this, right? Because
Yes.
this is not a sprint, this is a marathon, right? Because
Correct.
there are days where, we want to tap out and just say, you know what, I'm gonna choose this route because this route is just gonna get me where I need to be.
Mhm. Mhm.
All of the angst that I have to feel, all of the hurt that I have to relive, all of the re-traumatization that I have to go through, sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes on an hour by hour, moment by moment basis, just to accomplish a particular goal.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
And what I love is that you both share how that feels for you. Right. You both share how that feels for you. Because oftentimes we think, well, maybe, white women don't experience, any of that because of their whiteness. Right.
Mhm.
And maybe Black women are, some people may think that Black women over amplify this because of their Blackness. Right. But at the end of the day, it's two women, two friends, two sisters talking about, yes, this is real. Both sides of the pain are real, but through that is something, just is another place and space where you can be yourselves, and
Mhm.
Right.
nothing more and nothing less, because that's all you need to be. But
Mhm.
the only way we can get there is to go through, right? And so
Yeah.
to your point about, sometimes audiences aren't ready. This is a great segue into our next segment, impact and response, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you share some key insights or themes from Unwrapped that you believe have resonated the most with your audience? And I'm going to throw a curveball at you, the
Yep.
most in a positive way and the most in a negative way. What
Sure.
people?
Yeah. You want to start, Kelly?
Yeah, I'll start. I think one of the things that resonates, I would say two things seem to resonate when people are giving me feedback on the book. One is something along the lines of your story's my story. That happened to you too? I can't believe it. Oh, and I got to this part. Yeah, I remember when. And then they start going into their story. So there's so many parallels to what they experience. And I think the other part is we use three words over and over again in the book. All right, and they are ally, accomplice, and co-conspirator. And that I think that's another thing that resonates. It's around how do ally is 101. I'm ready. I'm willing to do the work. Willing to read the book. I'm willing to start. Where do I go? What do I do? An accomplice is I'm willing to stand by you when you're going through whatever it is you're going through. But a co-conspirator, from my perspective, is someone that uses her privilege to help uplift the voices of women whose voices have been hidden or drowned out or oppressed. And so it's the idea of being a co-conspirator is about what are you willing to risk for other women. And that has resonated because ally, I mean, white people always talk about being ally. I'm like, honey, that's 101. Okay, that's just you're reading the books. Okay, that's just, you need to get yourself to being a co-conspirator if you really want to. And then when you said something negative, I'm going to go back a little bit to what kind of I said before, and that is when we talk about, and I talk about in particular from my role in this, when I talk about, white supremacy culture, I talk about white privilege. I mean, you get the clutching of the pearls, you get the ooh, I mean, you can see it when we're on stage. You can see some of them going, "What is she talking about?" I've had a hard time, and we've had that, and we've had some pushback, and we've had pushback around what it just says to me is this is just someone who is one, either not ready for the work, or two, hasn't done the work and doesn't understand what that means. And so if they're open to starting the work, then we'll have that conversation. But we've had that pushback. And at first, when we got it, it was hurtful. You go into not so much a self-doubt, but should we deliver the message differently? And then when the light of day comes the next morning, you say, oh, hell no. This is the message. This is if we're going to stay in our values, if we're going to stay authentic, this is the message we're going to deliver over and over again. And instead, what we said is, what do we adjust to help them reflect on why they're feeling uncomfortable?
Mm-hmm.
And that is different. It's not how do we avoid the uncomfortableness? It's let's still create the uncomfortableness, but we're going to help them. So we've had that kind of pushback before with some of our speaking engagements. And I would say that's been kind of the hard part, is because we really had to unwrap that.
Right. Yeah. And to add to that piece, and then I'll tell you what's been resonating, is and some of that pushback has been by just a few loud people, and I say a few, probably two, who got into the ear of the organizer, and the organizer needed to validate why that comment was needed to be addressed.
Yes.
And that for me is the challenge. The challenge when the organizer is a Black woman who's going, can you help us explain why you use that? And I'm like, sis, are you serious? And then I have to remember, like, I've been unwrapped. And I understand. And then I was like, I understand where she is. To take that on requires some courage.
Mm-hmm.
And that person was not ready to do so.
Correct.
And so how Kelly and I addressed it is go back to look at our proposal and the session description. And that's the reason why we did that.
Yep.
Next. Right. And it's like, but it's not this large swath. It's like 3 people who felt uncomfortable, who were able to beeline to the organizer, and the organizer was caught off guard.
And the loudest critic is always heard, even if it's only 1 or 2.
Correct. So that's been the challenge for me in this is just other people of color who are just like, I can't, right? And I have to suspend my judgment to know that everybody has their journey. Mm. The thing that resonates, there's 2 things that resonates the most, I think, coming out of the book and out of Lucy Leadership. The first, I'll talk to women of color. And that is this idea of intersectionality that Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw talks about. I coined the word based on her research, the in-between. Mm. It's that moment in women of color, and for me as a Black woman, where I'm too Black, not Black enough, too loud, not loud enough, too bold, not bold enough. And I'm ping-ponging trying to fit somewhere and switch codes and try to be whoever I need to be in all of these spaces. It is exhausting. And it resonates because people experience it. It's resonating more now when we're seeing the impact of that happening, which gets to the second theme that's coming up, which is our well-being. Mm-hmm. We have lost 4 Black women presidents or C-suite women in education, 2 dying on the job last year, 1 being forced to resign, and 1 taking her life last week. I would also add a 5th, my aunt, in a tragic murder-suicide as an educator. Well-being, being thriving in our purpose, thriving in our community, thriving in our spirituality, you name it. That has resonated significantly. It's one of our values. And Kelly and I have created content around that. We sort of tested it out last year in a first initial kickoff of a well-being workshop. And holy smokes, I mean, it comes up in every conversation. Shit, women are tired. We are tired of having to prove ourselves, having to show up with lipstick on and smiling in faces when we know we're not being supported in the room or the table, or no one's moving a chair for us to sit up, pull up. And I was listening to a podcast, not a podcast, but a radio show, with Charlemagne the God. He was interviewing Ava DuVernay and Anjanou Ellis Taylor on the movie Origins, which is based off the book Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. Yeah. And the question asked to Ava DuVernay yesterday was, do you have all of these movie studios reaching out to you? Now, this is Ava DuVernay. She said, no, they don't call me. They were like, wait, they don't like drop a script and say, please do. She said, they do not call me. She said, everything I made is self-generated. And she said this, which is, I think, our mantra. I'm not waiting for someone to tell me what I'm supposed to do and the stories I'm going to tell. So for us, when thinking about well-being and thinking about this work of Lucy Leadership Project, I think that was the impetus. We're not waiting for someone to tell us or to give us in our hands a company, a consultant company to do this work. We're creating it. And we're going to do it better than the next person. Now, this shit is hard, but we're going to do it better. And we're going to put work in. We're betting on ourselves in this work. Yeah. And we're betting on our community who are here to support us. to continue to support us in the highs and in the lows. All right, like
Now
let me
I'm going to jump. It's
Sherry
I'm
Coke
gonna
real
jump
quick.
into the double dutch. I
Let me
told you all it's double dutch, but it's such good double dutch. So, when the person spins super fast like this, I love it.
Yes, it opened up a
You know,
can.
there's so much to unpack from that. Um, but again, I'm thinking first when we're talking about well-being, right? We are, for me, what I'm hearing is safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Safety is important. If I walk into a space and I do not feel safe, that could be professionally or personally, right? We've all, as women, walked into spaces where you may be the only one, and sometimes we get accustomed to that, right? We get
Mm-hmm.
accustomed to being the only one. And for me, my suit of armor used to be similar to Kendra's, and I think I started my unwrapping when I saw you start to go through your evolution, because there's no way in the world that I would show up as this in professional spaces.
Yeah.
And then I realized I dictate what a professional space is. And by me showing
Yes.
up looking like I look, everyone can show up looking as they look,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what that might look like, right?
Right.
But then we think about safety insofar as how it affects our professional equity, right? How it allows us to move. So to your point about, Anjanou and Ava, the way that, and I've heard multiple times women of their caliber, women who we think have the road paved for them, because Anjanou Ellis is not new to the African.
No. Oh my God. She
And
is prolific.
yeah,
Yeah.
she is an actor, right?
Yes.
And so, to see the struggles that they all go through, I mean, it's unheard of. And I will even throw something out there. The other day, someone said to me, "I thought you were thriving
Oh,
for a particular area of business that I wanted to enter in, right?" And I said, "I'm thriving everywhere else but there. There is a barrier to entry that is invisible but also real."
yeah.
Right? And so it makes you think about, I show up, I do the work harder and better than anybody else. And by I mean all of us that are
Right.
tuning in today, right? I mean the two of you, I mean the collective us, right? As women in particular. And then when we get there and we see the finish line, all of a sudden it's moved back for some
Yep.
unknown reason, right? And so I asked myself, and I think women see this. And to your point, Kendra, about showing someone grace, right? First, we have to show ourselves grace, because it
Right.
takes grit to jump in and out of one coded language into another coded language, and then all the layers. And then, you both are working moms and wives. And so there's a whole other life that you have
Right.
besides, the multiple ones that you have to navigate as professional women who are educational leaders, right?
Yes.
That's a mouthful, right? So when we are walking into spaces that are not welcoming, for me it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
And well-being is intrinsically tied to safety, because if my well-being isn't made a priority, it doesn't matter how much I want to take care of myself, I'm not going to have the energy to want to get up and jog,
Mm-hmm.
yoga,
Mm-hmm.
and eat well. I'm going to go through the drive-through and order those fries and a Diet Coke to pretend like I'm really doing something. But shout out to Diet Coke. But if we don't have the mental energy, we cannot have the mental fortitude to
Right.
deal with all of that. So the two are intrinsically linked, I think.
Correct.
Right.
Agreed.
Well, I'm going to move to our next question, because we've got so many good questions that I want you guys to be able to share the answers, to share with our participants today. So, how have readers and educators responded to the book so far? Besides, the three haters, because we haters.
Well, I mean, we have. I'll just say this: the year in review, the women who show up, they are here too. The men. I'll use a personal story as a way to maybe highlight some unintended impact, and I'm gonna talk about my husband, Jason, and We host these book talks once a month. And for those of you who know Jason, he is in the background at every one of these. He's the one pressing the buttons, moving some things around to allow us to be present in the conversation that we have. And it, at the conclusion of every book talk, because remember, our message is mainly, our audience is mainly women,
Mhm.
women educators. But at the conclusion of every book talk, we do a whole debrief about what he learned that he is going to use in his own work life.
I
I
love
mean,
it.
we have these very interesting conversations over dinner or dessert, over libations. And I mean, I think it has led to a new sort of awakening in our own relationship, intellectual awakening in our own relationship. So I'm gonna use him as a testimony because he wasn't the audience that we were really trying to do, but by proxy of him being sort of present and watching us go through this journey as a man, the conversations he has with our sons about how they will be accomplices for their women, their cousins, for me, for their girlfriends, or whoever in the future would have changed the trajectory, like, of the way that they will see
Yeah.
women. So that's one testimony outside of the many others who have just been um, inspired, have been thankful, have been saying, I'm this is getting me started on my unwrap journey. So I think it allows them to fit into the continuum of where they are and sort of jump into what do they want to unwrap first.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I would just add that what I hear a lot is that, and I've heard this from a couple of women educators, and I'm hoping they're all taking this away, is that we're not saying you need to be changed.
Right.
You need to, but there is no way that we experience systems that oppress women. I mean, the educational system was not created for us or by us.
Mhm.
And so we are showing up in a system where we're trying to fit in. And in order to do that, we're doing all the things we've been talking about. You know, we're navigating the in between, we're switching, we're um trying to lead like a man. We're trying to lean into systems that don't want us to lean in. Um, and there is no way we can do that and not and experience those kind of cultures, to experience misogyny and the patriarchy and white supremacy culture and say, I'm not affected, because all we have to do is go into a hallway and listen to women talking about other women, and we know we're affected,
Mhm.
or we sabotage each other, or we talk more about what her suit looked like than the content of what she said. So that's how, and that is what we have got to unwrap. And
Yeah.
so, and we were just talking about well-being. There's a layer of the well-being that we need to think about. One, educators in general are suffering in well-being. And the numbers of people leaving the profession are just
It's
are
yeah.
staggering. I mean, it is a national issue.
Mhm.
So that's one. And then you layer on top of that women educators and their well-being. So that's one issue that when some women have told me when they read the book, they go, I didn't know that's what I was feeling. I
Mhm.
didn't know the tightness in my chest. I didn't know, gripping the steering wheel, driving to work every day like this was, I didn't know that was it. The other part of that is, and this is something that someone said to me once, they go, I didn't know I could say no. I didn't know that's boundary setting.
Yes.
Mhm.
I didn't know that I could say, I don't want to be treated that way. I don't want you to talk to me that way. I don't want, I didn't know I could say that. And I didn't have the language to do it because none of us, most of us, were not socially conditioned unless you had whoever raised you had, the wherewithal to teach you that. We were not socially conditioned to understand that. So that's the impact that I'm hearing from educators. It's kind of that threefold. One is I don't need to be changed. I need to figure out how to unwrap the effects of the systems I've been trying to navigate. And then the other thing is well-being, that layered effect of well-being, and then the boundary setting.
Right.
Ladies, I mean, this is, you've inspired me to, well, this thought popped into my head because of what you've inspired in me. And this is the third time I've said this very sentence today, which is mind blowing to me because it shows the kind of conversations that we continue to have, right? I always say boundaries create liberation.
Yes.
And so the more and the more I evolve into the CEO-ness of myself, right? Because we are all um, our own CEOs, if you will, right? But the more I evolve into the CEO-ness of myself, I realize I have to continuously make boundaries and more more rigid boundaries sometimes, and I'm constantly trimming the fat.
Yeah.
Right? But when I'm able to be as lean as that allows me to be, I can truly live my authentic life. I can navigate the paths that I need to with more ease. My teeth grinding becomes less.
Mm.
You're not gripping the wheel like you know Kelly mentioned. There's so much freedom in that, right? And the word freedom wasn't enough for me. It was liberation,
Yeah.
right? And so I know what this book means to women who have started to understand that they can trim the fat. They don't have to, like, they don't have to say yes and acquiesce to things, right?
Right.
No is also a complete sentence because in me saying no, I don't owe an explanation.
Yep.
No and because, right? And these are all of Kendra's shirts, I think, right?
That's right. They are.
I was like, this sounds familiar.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yes,
That's my
you
shirts.
know, so I really love that your work together has empowered but also emboldened women to
Mm.
step into the CEO-ness of themselves. Because by doing so, we're then, what do they say? You teach a woman, you teach the world,
Yep.
right? And one thing, and I'm going to blame you guys
Oh,
for this
great.
because I was listening to the radio the other day. And apparently, I'm not going to mention the school or the county, but they know who they are. But there is a school that has now instituted a program to teach middle schoolers how to become teachers. And I thought to myself, this speaks directly to the issue Kelly mentioned about a mass exodus of
Yep.
teaching professionals from the profession, right? And so I thought to myself, this is what we're doing now. American children's reading level, literacy level is so low.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're recruiting eighth graders to become teachers. Why not do better by the teachers so they don't leave?
Leave. Yep.
And also too, what's going to attract the middle schoolers to become teachers who leave?
Yeah.
So
Right.
I just
You're
thought to
not teaching the
myself,
problem, fixing the problem. Yeah.
not fixing the problem. You're just throwing more of the
Solutions.
population, into a role that's not structured for them to thrive.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
If we do that, what's going to happen? Our children are not going to be taught in a way that is conducive to their specific learning styles because our teachers aren't recognized for being in a space that is not conducive to their livelihood and their
Mhm.
well-being and their
That's
safety
right.
and all the other things that follow. But I will go on. But I blame you guys because I was like, you see, this is why the book exists. Because why are we? I just it blew my mind.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a cycle we call solutionitis. You just,
Hmm.
instead of really addressing the issue, which is what we intend to do even in the book, we're not fixing, we're trying to help people sort of recognize the system that they're in so that you can become, and this is pun intended, you are woke. Who wants to walk around asleep and ignoring what's actually happening?
Yeah.
So for us, we want to awaken and take the blinders off and have you see
Mhm.
what you're sitting in and what you've been washed over with so
Right.
that you can begin to take it off
Mhm.
and to do the good work of an educator that you need to do in service to your kids. So yeah, like This is critical to our work, and which is why we start with the origin story. Start with how the way you show up now is a direct result of your journey line.
Yeah.
And one other thing I want to just share, just a quick like history. I can't help it. I taught social studies. But when Kelly says this, the education structure was not created for us or by us, let me just unpack that 1 second. The model of the current education system was based on Brooklyn, excuse me, not Brooklyn, I'm saying Brooklyn. Boston, sorry, I don't know. I just went to New York real quick. Boston Latin School in Massachusetts, which was an all male sort of finishing school where men learned the classics and they readied them to go to Harvard. That same school does exist, not knocking what they do, but the current structure of what school looks like, it's not Little House on the Prairie.
Right.
It's that school with individual classrooms and desks, with sort of the classic idea of reading, writing, arithmetic for you to go to college. And it was white males going to Ivy League school. And that's the same model that our schools are sitting in. We just changed the color of the classroom. We just, instead of the desk, we have comfy, bouncy chairs. But it's the same structure, just they changed the makeup.
Yeah.
So that's the system we're talking about. And that's the system that has to change. It has not bode well for our most vulnerable kids. It never did.
Right.
Which is why every year we like, well, why is the grades only going up? We cannot applaud a 2% that our kids are reading from 23% of kids are proficient to 25 and go, we made gains.
Yeah. I think
really
is utterly ridiculous that we celebrate that.
Yeah.
And I do as the child of immigrants, I do believe that America is this shining city on a hill, but there's a journey for us to get to that.
There. Sure.
So right now it's aspirational, it's inspirational, but that's not the reality in which we live. And until we reconcile, the real with the hope, we're going to be stuck. So I think that's another reason why it's so great that you all focus on women educators. That specific demographic is in need of not only attention, but really, I don't want to say only attention, but they're in need of care. They're in need of professional care in an equitable fashion.
Correct.
But that starts by unwrapping why they're in need of care.
Correct.
I want to keep us on time, but there are a couple of things we still want to talk about. Let's now talk about the business side of things. Right? So as we were saying, Lucy Leadership Project. First, for those who are new to Lucy Leadership Project and the experience of being unwrapped, tell us how you came up with the name for Lucy Leadership Project. Where did that come from?
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what would be a name, a symbol, something that would keep us honest, something that would exemplify our values of community, our values of authenticity and well-being. And we were just, we thought of all different things, symbols, you name it. And it hit I don't remember the actual moment when we were like, oh, it's Lucy. But
we were Googling all kind of things. And I think it came, something passed by.
I was like, wait a minute, Lucy, the anthropological find in Kenya in the 1970s. The first known human was a woman. That's we are
a woman from Africa.
That's right. She from Africa, y'all.
Because I always tease Kendra when she calls into the ancestors. I'm like, you know what? Leave mine behind. Don't call all mine in. Or let me sort first, and then I went, okay. If I go back to Lucy, I'll call in Lucy.
That's right. You
We'll
call
call them
Lucy, and she
Lucy.
is your aunt. She is your ancestor. She's all of our ancestors. So we use that scientific anthropological find to be a symbol for what keeps us grounded. Like we are the continuous legacy of the number of women before us who have endured.
And we're the origin of each other.
That's correct.
Oh,
So
truly,
that's
truly, though,
that's
we are the
Lucy.
origin of each other.
You can
What,
never forget her.
what is that saying? Each one teach one. I
That's
feel
right.
like that gets passed on through time. But and
Yes.
I would reference a Marvel character, but I will get into comic book lore all day. We don't want that. That's another show. Okay. So okay, now you've come up with the Lucy Leadership Project, right? Now you're starting to build it out as a business a year ago, right? So and that business gave birth and rise to this book. I feel like the two grew together.
They did. Yeah.
So tell me about, because I want people to know that this journey was not an easy one when it came to the business side of things, right? So
Mhm.
we're tapping back into Ava DuVernay for a moment. Tell me about the most significant milestone for your business.
Mhm. I'll start with for us. We were able to in the beginning we had to so the first thing we had to do was invest in ourselves. A lot of people don't think that that's what you got to do. Like you have to put your own money, and I say our
Mhm.
own meaning like my family money because
Yeah.
it's just not mine, right? Kelly, we committed to putting our own money up front and investing in ourselves. And a lot of people just think people just gonna come knocking on the door and just like, here's some money. That doesn't happen, right? So we invested in ourselves. And part of that investment was in purchasing some books so that we can sell books, physical books in places.
Mhm.
We did a lot of cold call, cold email. We leveraged a lot of our family, our friends who were willing to give us support as a gift, right? So and that only lasts in the beginning, right? Like that, after that, you got to pay, right? But it helped us get started. And then when we got some generated income, we use that income to invest further in the business so that we can begin to grow it a little bit more. So you run a deficit when you start a business. You make no money. We're not making money, right? We're making a difference in minds and hearts of people. At some point, we will make money. But
Absolutely.
we reinvested money that came in back into the business. And the milestone is that we were able to take this beautifully written book with our story and actually make it come to life in the creation of some online modules so that women, organizations, educational organizations, or women's groups can work through not only just the book, but be able to really go deeper. Like what happens after you read, or what can happen as you read to go deeper. And that was a huge milestone for us to be able to develop that. And I would be remiss if I not say that we were able to leverage the wonderful expertise of Westbridge LLC to be able to help us design and to create these wonderful modules that have been a huge piece of growing Lucy Leadership Project.
Ah,
Yeah. My mantra after this is always now beyond the book. How do we go beyond the book?
Yeah.
Um, and so it's we didn't want to just say, here's the book, read it, and good luck with that unwrapping thing.
right.
No, we want to help you go through your own journey, whatever that looks like. And so it's the modules, and then we're constantly thinking, and then it's our monthly book talks, and then it's, we've got some workshops coming up
Yep.
that for women to engage in to help them continue that journey and that is what Lucy Leadership is. It's our space. It's our place and it's two people that are constantly thinking about how do we help women go beyond the book
Yep.
and really make it come to life.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it. And thank you for the shout out. I'll give you the corn roast side now. Yes. Okay.
Yes. Hello. Yeah.
But I love that I love everything that you guys said. But first, investing in yourself, right?
Yes.
Because I do want our listeners to know that this was not only a labor of love for you, this was a labor of financial commitment, professional dedication, blood, sweat, and tears,
Yes.
all wrapped up into one, right? And I commend you for doing that, because as somebody that has been an entrepreneur for the past 17 years, I understand what that requires, right?
Hmm.
And so and people are not just going to, if they're not going to give it to Ava DuVernay, they're for sure not just giving it to us, right? So
For sure.
it's
Hmm.
Oprah. So so I really commend you on doing that, because I have seen the evolution of the work that you have done, and it is a layered, that's why I refer to it as the unwrapping experience, because the book is one thing, right? That's what Kelly said with allyship, right? Advocacy, and then co-conspirator, right? So the book is one part of it. The keynotes that you give and the virtual book talks, those are the next layer of it.
Right.
But then the modules themselves, that learning journey, right? Because it is a journey. That is, I think, when you are striving to really affect change, when you're putting it on the line, that's when you're ready for the modules.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's when you're willing to give up something to get something. And I think, unfortunately, people think it's a zero sum game. I don't have to lose my power to give Kelly some, and vice
Hmm.
versa, right? I don't have to give everything away, but we do have to be in this experience locked arm in arm,
Yep.
because it is a battle for each of us as women, and we can win that battle when we do it together, right?
Yep.
So I want to make sure that we are not keeping our audience too long, but I do want you all to talk about what is coming up next for Lucy Leadership Project, for how are we going to continue to unwrap where you going to be, and then we're going to celebrate what you've done.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let me share a little bit about what's coming up, right? So um this was the moment when we actually launched the book back in January of 2023. And we've had the privilege and honor of sharing portions of our story and reading the book then. And since then, we have some new breaking news, right? We decided this year to go really bold. Like, if we're going to bet on ourselves, we're going to bet and let's go hard in it, right? So, our goal is to put 10,000 books in the hands of women and allies in 2024. And so, our ask to our people in the audience, our family, our friends, our advocates, our supporters, strangers who are like, what is this all about? We ask that not only do you buy the book if you haven't purchased it yet, you can always purchase a second so you can give to a friend, but we ask that you promote this as well. So we can give you some assets that you can just take off of social media and reshare with your friends. But our goal is, this is sort of the foundation. This is where you start. And we want to build that community. That's one of our values.
Mhm.
Um, the second is the online modules. We've had a few people go through the online modules back in the fall. We really were trying to test, make sure how are they experiencing it. Now we're going to the second level. So these online modules are available now on our website. You can sign up for them. But we decided to pivot a bit. And what Kelly's going to share with you is how you can use these in a different way.
Yeah, and I love that quote on the other one, because that's what leads us into the book club, where Glennon Doyle says, quit waiting to get picked, quit waiting for someone to give you permission. And I would say, quit waiting to get accepted to the cohort that you're waiting for, or to get accepted into that development experience, and create your own, and create your own book club. And so, what we would encourage women who are listening today is, create your own community, get your community together. Who are the women that you want to go on this learning journey with? And buy the books and then go through the modules together. We all do book clubs, and we read mysteries, and we read, fiction, we read nonfiction, we read whatever. Make it just like your women's book club, and you're meeting once a week, once a month, once every other week, and you're talking about, the first chapter, and you've gone through the first module. And by the way, the modules are not static. They're interactive. And so there's videos of Kendra and I talking to you and walking you through the chapters. There's reflection pages that you can download. There's case studies. They're really thoughtful, that you can then take and go into community with each other, and start to unwrap yourself, but create your own sense of, just like Kendra and I have our sense of support with each other. Find your sense of support, find your community, create your community. Don't wait to be picked. And the other thing I would encourage is those of you who are or are in contact with district leaders who do development, it's time for us to just say that the women in school districts need something different and unique for themselves. They don't always need the same thing.
Mhm.
And so I say this is part of a retention. We just talked about people walking out the back door. This is part of a retention strategy. If you want to keep the women education leaders and educators in your district, then create your own district book club or community, and begin to bring the women together that are in your district, from at all levels, from teachers to administrators to principals to district leaders, superintendents. You have your own groups. Do it together as superintendents. And if you buy, and I don't know, Ken, if you're going to say this, but if you buy the book tonight,
Yep.
then you'll see on the screen, there's a QR code that gives you a discount. That discount will remain until tomorrow morning. So buy the book tonight. If you think you want a friend that wants one, tell them they can Venmo you later. Buy some for a friend tonight. If they're not watching, buy them for a couple of friends. If you've got birthdays coming up, whatever it is. But I believe it's one of the greatest gifts you could give another woman, is to say, look, let's take this journey together. So don't wait to be picked. Pick yourself and create your community.
Yeah, that's a great example of betting on yourself.
Mhm.
And listen, it's March is coming up, which is Women's History Month. We have February where we're going to celebrate Black History Month, and then March, Women's History Month. Kelly and I are available for keynoting. We're also available to help you get started on your book club. So you can also hire us for the opening of the launching of your book group. And so March is a great time. We are starting to get booked up for March. We have a couple of events already scheduled that we're looking forward to. But please reach out to us. It could be part of a larger theme that you're working through in the month of March, or if you want to, as part of your professional learning, have us work specifically with women as part of your PD or your district leadership work. We are ready and willing to serve. You just need to email us at lucyleadershipproject.com, and we are there. We have tons of topics around well-being, about being authentic. Again, the pursuit of our work here. Pick yourself. Thank you, Kina. Thank you, Kina. And we also are going to be offering, to kick off what we talked about earlier with the theme that we're seeing, is our well-being workshop. Here it says at 7. We're actually going to start at 6:30 on February 20th. We want you to mark your calendars because it's critically important that we are addressing your well-being. Kelly and I are going to facilitate this session with you, taking you through not just the chapter of the book on about well-being, but really having you build a community of other women as a support mechanism as you begin to really uncover how well are you thriving in areas of your well-being, and what are some tips and tools you can use in order to support your well-being. The secondary piece that Kelly's going to talk about is, in order to be able to create well-being, you have to have boundaries.
So this is another workshop that we're doing with Portia, and I know she was on earlier.
Yep.
And so let me tell you, the way I always describe Portia and boundaries is she is a genius around boundary setting. I mean, the language, I've adopted the language that she has taught me. She just, she just is amazing. And so she and I have been spending the last couple months putting together a 3-session workshop. Each session is an hour and a half, and it's 3 sessions from 7 to 8:30. And because we've boundary setting is the issue that when I teach Dare to Lead, we come back over and over and over again with women because it's not easy. And so we call it the anatomy of a boundary, because we're going to take you through how does your mind feel? How does your body feel? We're just going to take you through all of it. We're going to give you some language. You're going to get a PDF workbook that you can take with you, and we'll walk you through. I'll give you a teaser. The thing that Portia says, and Portia, if you're still listening, I hope I get it right. But the thing that Portia always says about boundary setting is it's not about creating a wall. It's about creating doors and teaching people how they can have access to you. Because right now, our doors are wide open.
They're way too open.
They are wide open. And we're letting people have access to us in a way that is hurting us and hurting our well-being. So here's what I encourage you to do. Go to the well-being workshop and the boundary setting workshop because they integrate. Because if we're not setting boundaries, then we're suffering in well-being. So we will have on the website, lucyleadershipproject.com, under learning events, I think it is, or workshops, we will have registration up soon with cost and everything. So you can register and you can pay for them all at the same time. So watch for that within the next week or so on our website, or we will obviously be putting out some of our social media that lets you know time to go in and register. But this is the big one.
Yep. And then the last thing we want to share what's coming up is next week. So next Monday, as part of our book talks, we have invited the fabulous Dr. Christina Camp. And Dr. Camp is an expert. She's a clinical psychologist and an expert on women behavioral health, specifically expert in navigating trauma for women. This is extreme. Now I'm going to take it a little slow because I need y'all to hear this one. This is extremely important in light of recent events affecting women and the workplace. And Kelly and I are not the experts in this, which is why we call on other women like Bertine in terms of our marketing, in terms of our consultancy, Portia in terms of boundary setting. We are not psychologists. I'm a doctor, but I'm a doctor of thinking. I can read books and tell you my thoughts about what it says. But she is going to be able to not only provide us with ways we can begin thinking about how to navigate them, but really some concrete tools as a psychologist of how to navigate these spaces that are just ripping us apart. We are dying too young. We are suffering and not experiencing joy. And right when we want to, our lives seem to end. And so this is Monday. You already started to see social media posts for registering. You do it just like here. You can just log on to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, and be here on Monday. Please do not miss this one. You're figuratively and literally, our lives depend on it. So I could not underscore that
enough. If I can give just a quick personal plug, workplace trauma, it metastasizes if you don't know how to release it. And I can tell you from personal experience, it's the reason I have a heart condition. Is because of my workplace trauma. It's not a critical one, but it's one. And it comes when I'm under stress, and it started when I was going through workplace trauma. I write about it in the book. So if you buy the book with the discount code, you can read my story.
And
so I write about it in the book, but it is real. And we've got to figure out how to heal from the workplace trauma.
Yep. And that brings you back to the call to action, right? And that is we want you to be able to help support getting the book in the hands of women and allies. Again, our big audacious goal is 10,000, and with that big goal, we have, like we just shared, today on sale, you can get the book using this discount code. Now, this is going to end after tomorrow. And so we hope that, again, you can buy the book, get into the hands of people that you love, and then contact us to help you set up that book club and really work on your well being, boundary setting, and really just being able to thrive in your work. So that was whew, but that's what we're and listen, and this is all of our investment so that we are investing in you. So
Yeah.
we hope we have a return. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I see some people using the QR code. If you take your phone out and hit that QR code, it will register that you are supporting us in
And
that.
let me just say, if you missed the QR code because you're on your phone right now, you can go to lucyleadershipproject.com tonight, and all of the links for the book for tonight until tomorrow morning have this discount.
Yeah.
So if you're on your phone, you can also go to the website and get them there.
Yes, yes, that's awesome. Thank you thank you people for supporting us.
Yeah.
We appreciate that so much. It allows us to reinvest in the work to support our women in this work.
Yeah.
We're going to keep that up, but I know Bertine, you also asked a question. So what has the year been like for us?
Yes, I want, while we are celebrating this year of getting unwrapped, continuing to unwrap, I want people to see how unwrapping evolved. I want them to see, because we're talking about investing, right? You've also invested your time and your talents on the road. So unwrapping, if you can't come to unwrapped, unwrapped will come to you. Right?
Yeah.
Lucy Leadership Project has been traveling across the country, really sharing this message, sharing this journey, helping as many women as possible unwrap, but also helping as many men as possible become co-conspirators, right?
Yes.
So let's show everybody how this year has gone for Lucy Leadership.
Here we go. Wow. I mean, even when I look back at it, I'm like, dude, I mean, Principal Kafele, that was like insane, just crazy to be even invited into his space. He is a juggernaut in the education field, and just to be invited to be on his virtual principal and assistant principal leadership academy was insane. So, and all the wonderful women that we've had on our book talks, and the fabulous women we're going to have this upcoming year, and men. We just continue to be grateful, and we want to thank you all for just believing in us and supporting us in this work.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say thank you too, and to just what buying the books helps us keep thinking about what to do next. And
Yep.
so I want to thank you for allowing us to do what we did this last year. I read something today that said start a Google form, and in the Google form or Google page, write down things that you've accomplished in the day so that at the end of the year, and just keep a running list. When you
Mm.
feel like you haven't done as much, you look at that list and go, look at all I've accomplished. And not just your day-to-day things, but accomplishments. Because I know
Yeah.
when we sat down to think about what are our stats for this year, I was like, I don't know, what did we do? And then when you start to write it down, you go, well, no wonder why I'm so tired. But it is also exhilarating. And
Yeah.
so I just can't imagine being in any other space. Again, I go back to full circle. Somehow all the stars aligned, the moons were put into, and I don't know what all that means, but the moons are where they all should be. And Kendra and I sat down and said, let's do this thing. We have no idea what it looks like. We don't know what story we have to tell. We don't even know if we have anything to say, but let's just do it and jump in. And every day, that's what we do. When we meet, when we have our business meetings once a week, we just sit down and go, what's next?
What do we do? How do we do this? We just figuring it out.
And I would just like to say this to the women listening and the men. Tell us what's next. Help us know, hey, have you thought we need a workshop on this? We need something on that. How can we pull a community together? We're here to help you. You know, we're not a big conglomerate organization.
It's just us. We are the organization. It's us.
For heaven's sake, most of you probably have our cell phone numbers. Just text us.
Oh my God. I love the extreme close-up. It's just us.
It's really just
talking, no one else.
Yeah, it's just us.
Yeah. So let us know, because this is your organization. That's how we want it to be. This is your community. Help us build it and help us know how to build it. But thank you.
So I'm going to jump in, you guys, and you always know, I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback, because it's not insane that you got invited to those spaces and places by all of those amazing individuals, because you yourselves are amazing individuals. You are change makers. You are knocking down, I don't want to say boundaries. You're not knocking down boundaries. You're helping to block boundaries. You're knocking down doors and walls that prohibited so many of us from showing up as we are meant to show up. And I dare say, and you know how I feel about data, the data supports this, when we show up as ourselves, everybody wins. Everybody wins, right? And I know this for a fact, the people that you are meant to continue to help, inspire, and empower, you haven't even met them yet. The ones that are going to buy this book, there are people out there waiting for you that you've yet to meet. And that's why I am super excited for 2024 and the Lucy Leadership Project, with people continuing to get unwrapped. And I do want to give some special shout outs here. So of course, shout out to everyone joining us from YouTube, Facebook, X, LinkedIn Live, but special shout out to the one and only Karen Young Washington. We want to give her a special shout out. That's Kendra's mom, everybody. Yes, she gets snaps, right? And then we want to shout out the members of the Saturday Sister Circle that are also joining us here today. So shout out to all you guys. I see Valerie out there. Thank you for joining us. And now, of course, I'm going to give a shout out to Kelly and Kendra. But wait, before you guys, thank you for production, Jason, out there in the green room. Thank you.
You can come on, Jason. Come show your face so that they can see.
They know who it is.
They know who it is. There he is.
Jason.
Shout out to Jason. Thank you for keeping the production running smoothly. And so everyone, I want to encourage you. Well, first, I'm going to thank Kelly and Kendra for just letting me share this small part of the journey with you. This has been not only a project that I am extremely proud of, but as your friend, as your consultant, as a spectator in this amazing thing that you all have created, as a super fan, I'm so proud of you guys, and I so love this work. And it's not even the book I wrote. That's how meaningful, like if it's meaningful to me, you all get this today with this discount code. And I will say this book is worth so much more than the price, right? The price does not reflect its value. Its value is something that you can continue to get. You can continue to open this book and read it anew, right? You will always have, and this I know for sure, you will always have another gem that you can take from it and say, oh, you know what? I didn't catch that last time. This time, because of how your day went, you're like, oh, that part.
Yeah.
Right? So I want you all to know this book is for everybody. everybody. This book is for everyone. If you know a human, this book is for them. Okay?
Or, man, I also put a plug. This book is also for young girls
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
thinking about.
My two daughters are on tonight. And so, and I want to thank them because Maddie was actually at the first book launch, taking
Yes,
pictures and doing everything. So a shout out to them,
that's right.
and a quick shout out to my husband who
Yes,
assisted. There's
yay.
Maddie. There's my
Yes,
Madison.
Maddie.
That's my Madison.
That's
A quick
right.
shout out to my husband who's been nothing. He bought my balloons today for the anniversary, and yes. So.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
you all, I want to thank everybody for joining us virtually. Have Kelly and Kendra come out to see you. Lead your book club and set the table. I'm going to quote Tyler Perry for a second. He set the table, and I'm paraphrasing. He set the table that he wanted to see people at. He set the table where he was never invited. If you're not invited, create your own table.
That's
What
right.
are you waiting for? This is the beginning of the new year. Forget resolutions. Just do the thing. Do the
Yes.
thing. Right? If you wanted to start that book club, do that. Have Kelly and Kendra come out. If you want to have them for their transformational keynotes, have them come out to empower your entire organization, whether you're a corporation, whether you're a school district, whether you're a small college, have them come out because I guarantee you, you will leave changed and you will leave transformed and you will leave ready and equipped to start unpacking.
Yeah.
Wait,
Unwrapping.
unpacking.
I don't want them to unpack.
Don't
You want them
unpack
to unwrap.
anything, y'all. Don't unpack. You will leave. You see, I got all caught up. You will leave ready to
That's
start.
funny. That is so funny.
We want them to pack up some
hilarious.
books. We want them to
Pack up the books and
That's right.
unwrap yourselves, right? So I really want you all to feel inspired. I know that when we're looking at just the situation going around in our world, in our lives, it is easy to become discouraged. It truly is. So I want you to feel inspired. I want you to see yourselves in this book. I guarantee that you are in it. I'm in it. You're in it. We're all in it. And really knowing what made us, those origin stories, can lead us to really being the superheroes in our own lives. So shout out to Kelly and Kendra for being the amazing superheroes that you are for so many women and men.
Thank you,
Cool.
Bertine.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. We'll see
Bye.
you
Thank you,
Monday. Book Talk Monday. See you.
Well-being. Dr.
Well-being.
Camp.